All right, happy Friday. It's another edition of Q&A with Alan and Marshall. I'm Marshall Atkinson.
I'm Alan Howe with Easy Way.
And we have a special guest today, which is our good friend Roger Burnett and another Michigander, right? Did I pronounce that right? Michigander?
Michigander, absolutely. Show it on the hand.
And I've known Roger for quite a long time. In fact, I used to be his t-shirt printer.
That's awesome.
So how you doing today, Roger?
I'm great, man. Think about that. I toured the factory. God,
is this in Milwaukee?
Years ago, yeah.
Yeah.
The Milwaukee one, okay.
Yeah. Wow.
A long time ago. And actually, I think didn't we meet when I was at T Formation? You were still partnered with Jonathan then. When I was in Florida.
Maybe so.
Right? What was your
I was at
commander thing. What was that?
Order commander. No, I was at Workflow 1 still.
Workflow 1, that's right.
Yeah, which rest in peace, pour some liquor. Workflow 1 doesn't exist. Taylor Communications now.
Yeah.
That's a story unto itself. Good Lord.
Yeah. Anyway, we go way back, right? And Roger spoke at the first Shirt Lab. So if you were in Columbus for that event, you may remember his talk. And then he's got his company, Social Good Promotion. So Roger, why don't you talk about what you're about with that real quick, and just so everybody can know where you are and what you do, because it's such a fantastic business model.
Yep.
Thanks, man. So you don't need me to buy pens or T-shirts or water bottles or Florida State polos or backpacks. You can buy all of that online, and most likely for a lower price than what you would spend with me. So as any good salesperson, I need to justify the delta from the low-cost provider by adding value. So our value that we add at Social Good Promotions is we curate our supply chain from a hand-selected number of vendors that we chose based on some defensible strategy that company uses to make the world a better place. So whether they do something environmentally that is better than the competition, be it that they employ people from underserved populations, be it that when you buy something from that organization, they donate something to someplace as a result of that purchase. You know, all of these categories that really fall under the Promo Cares umbrella, that was a whole separate thing that I've been involved in dating back to 2018. But what we did is we took this model and said, could we run a promotional products distributorship focusing primarily on those suppliers that do what I just described, and fight people to tell us that they can't buy products from those choices? So if you're going to do business with me, you know that I'm bringing a solution set to bear that's going to have some social activation attached to it. And you're going to have to try to talk me out of why you shouldn't do it. So we're not for everybody, but we've been less than 3 full years in business, and we're going to sniff $500,000 in sales this year. And that's through the pandemic, all of the problems that have gone along with trying to source and execute on promotional marketing items right now is misery. And yet, because of our relationships and the way that we've curated our supply chain, we've actually been somewhat insulated from a lot of the problems that some of our competition is experiencing, because they've not spent the time to really dig into their supplier partners the way we have, to the point where they know exactly what it is that they can sell from whom. And then secondarily, I think that, and this is a bigger topic for sales as a whole, is when you're the expert, you tell the person what they're supposed to buy.
Absolutely.
When you're a generalist, they tell you what they want to buy. And never before in the history of ever have we needed specialists like we need them right now.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Because we have that specialty.
Yep.
We think that's why our business is growing as fast as it is because people need it and they want it now.
Right.
Great.
Right. Cool. Well, that's awesome. And we're going to get into a whole bunch of that stuff later, but we want to say hello to some folks watching. So Cindy's here as usual, watching from Texas.
Good morning, Cindy.
Watching on YouTube. So, hey, Cindy, thanks for hanging out with us. And David Eggers is here. Good morning, guys.
David, it was good talking to you a few minutes ago, too. So.
Peter's here from Port Huron, Michigan.
Yep, always.
Frank's watching from S&S Activewear. Hey, Frank.
Morning, Frank.
And Peter Walsh is watching from Roselle, Illinois at M&R. Hey, Peter.
Yep.
Thanks. Shane just joined us. Good morning, Shane.
Colorado.
So, if you're watching right now and maybe you haven't said hello, we really want you to say hello, where you're from. Also, don't forget this is a Q&A show, so we really need questions because Roger's got some answers you probably haven't heard before. So we'd love to get your – and today is all about sales. So if you've got sales questions, that's what we're going to be focusing on today. So make sure you get your questions in. Don't be bashful. This show is set up for you. And what we'd really like you to do right now is hit the share button and please share that you're watching the show because, frankly, we're trying to build an audience here, folks.
Absolutely.
Come on, people. Seriously.
Help us out.
Hit the share button. Hey, and Marshall, let's put a challenge out to the people that are watching. So, hi everyone, especially Port Huron. That's super cool. My mom lives in St. Clair, so
Love it.
I'm very familiar with that stretch of real estate. Heading up to Caseville up there in Thumb to have a good time in the summertime. Ask hard questions. Ask the ones that you wouldn't ordinarily ask. Ask them try to stump us. Ask us something really tough, because that's when the really good answers come out. Is when people ask the hard questions. So don't be afraid. Ask a hard question. Try to stick it to us.
That's why we have Roger on the show, because he'll answer them. Marshall and I will just make stuff up, as you know.
100%.
I don't make stuff up.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Cheryl's here. Says hey. Yep. She's in Central Illinois. Good morning. Ghost is here from Uppsala, Sweden, as usual.
Absolutely.
And Charles is here from New Mexico. So good morning, Charles. Good to see you. So I tell you what, why don't we run our GSG commercial, and then we can get into some topics. What do you think?
I think we need to. I just spent 3 days with GSG in Ohio, working with their rep and meeting with their branch manager in Cincinnati, Ohio. So let's do it. Let's run it.
All right, here we go. How you like that song, Roger? Isn't it catchy?
That's a really the quality of that commercial is really good.
Yeah, because I didn't do it.
Yeah, we didn't do it. They have a great staff. Down there. Daniel is their production guy for video and marketing. He's incredible.
Yeah, everything GSG does is great. So,
and actually, I think when we had Mark Granberry on as a guest, we actually talked about Red Goldfish. And I think he wrote it down. I think he actually might have bought your book. That's the owner of GSG.
How cool is that?
We're going to talk about that in a minute. And how I know that is we've got it already queued up. Here's the book. I want you to go to Amazon right now and buy this book, Red Goldfish Promo Edition. And there's 2 red goldfishes. So make sure you get the one, where's my finger? With Roger Burnett on here. Okay. That's really important that you do that. Support Roger. Oh, and my wife just came in with a chicken biscuit. Thanks, babe.
Not a chicken biscuit.
It's not a chicken biscuit? What is it?
It's a breakfast sandwich.
It's a breakfast sandwich. I'm going to eat it later. I'll be smelling the ham and cheese thing forever.
Not one for us. I'm so hurt.
Not one for you guys. Buy this book. It is so incredibly awesome. And I'm not just saying that because Roger's my buddy. Okay, so look, you know what's good? When I got Post-it notes on pages. Page 16 here is it. This is the whole reason why this is your purpose page. You remember writing that?
Yep.
I'm looking at that one because
this is the reason why you need to buy this book, and then figure out, and we're going to get into that in a minute, how you can do that for your company. So I've written a bunch of books. So I've got like 5, I think, on my website, but I've ghost written, I don't know, 6 or 7 books now. And I'm actually starting a new one here in a couple weeks.
Right.
So, well, I've got my new book on my podcast coming out that you're actually in that book. And that's coming out here soon. We're in the final throes of layout right now.
Little did you know.
Writing a book, partnering with Stan. Talk about that a little bit, because I don't think everybody has birthed the baby of writing a book yet. And I want you to go through what it's like to do that.
It's like getting a tattoo. Right? I mean, it's the best way I can describe it.
Well, I don't have any tattoos, so I don't know. But
okay, but for those, like, imagine something that's painful and difficult, and you don't know what's going to happen in the end.
Yeah,
until it's done. Just like a tattoo, you don't know.
Yeah,
you just,
I can see that analogy now. Right? There is uncertainty. There is pain. There is struggle. And every book I've written, you do your first draft, and then you edit, then the second draft, and the edit, and then you delete whole chapters and rewrite them, and it's crazy.
well, and I had the good fortune of co-authoring with Stan, who's written 16 books. So one, he gave me the template, and there was no negotiating the template because I was book number 14 at that point. So you don't argue with 13 books.
Right.
So it made it a lot easier for me because I knew what I was required to do in order for a book to happen.
Right.
Which was really, really valuable. And now I have that knowledge at my disposal to write the next one, which I fully intend to write the book. Yay, Cindy. Thank you. That's awesome. Hey, and by the way, for anybody, so yes, I'm glad that Cindy, you bought the book. That's super cool. I'm not getting rich off the book sales. So don't think that the whole idea here is to sell books. There really is information in there that I think will be valuable. So if it is, Cindy, write a review. Anybody who gets this book, write a review. We're almost to 50, and Marshall knows this.
I've written a review. Read the review that I wrote on Amazon.
It was phenomenal. When you get to 50 reviews, Amazon does this neat little thing where when somebody else is looking at books on sales, you make the bottom. Where it's people also will look at this book.
People also bought. Cool. That's a third of Amazon sales is people also bought.
Yep.
We're at 39 reviews. We're close. So if we can get to 50, you make the bottom. And I really, really, really like when we published the book, I said to Stan, I'm like, I'm going to get to 50 reviews. And only one of his books has more than 50 reviews.
Oh.
Is that Diamond?
No, the original, Purple.
Oh, okay. Right. I own Diamond Goldfish. That's really good book.
Diamond is really good. Diamond is super good. All right. So I digress. So having Stan help write the book was enormously valuable. But to me, what I wasn't thinking was going to happen was because of the book and all of the presentations that I've given subsequent to the book's publication, my pitch is so tight now because it's informed by research.
Mm.
And Stan, what he did, the gift he gave me in the process of having me co-author this book with him was he forced me to back up what I believed. Right. And so the book is really just a reflection. Yes, Peter. Thank you. The book is really just a reflection of what I already thought to be true from my time at Promo Cares. So Stan and I used to get in arguments because he said, you need 200 examples before we can even get to the book premise. And I kept telling him, Stan, baby, I got you. And he's like, well, where's the research? I was like, it's all right here because I just spent a year doing Promo Cares. So I have all of the stories. He's like, no, that's not how this works, son. You have to put it down and show me that this is really because. And here's what it ultimately. So for any of you who would even be remotely interested in writing a book, the reason why research is important is you probably already know what it is you want to write about, but you need to have some data to help you tell the story. And that's what it really comes down to. So people make buying decisions using emotion, and then they use logic to justify their buying decision. So if you can create the data that gives them the justification, then you can craft a story that actually awakens what they want for themselves in the process. And then they have the data to back up why they should make that decision. So a lot of books are not written that way, but the fact that he forced me into that as the construct of writing the book has really actually helped Social Good Promotions and what we do, because now when someone comes to me and says, what's your competitive differentiation? Aha, it's purpose. And the book taught us was purpose is the special sauce in competitive differentiation. And there's all kinds of data to support why that's true.
We're going to talk about purpose in a minute, but let me tell you, so I've written a bunch of books, and of course, I write a blog every week, and how I do it is I put on my calendar writing for 30 minutes, and whether you feel like it or not, you're writing.
Yeah.
And because you can always edit. So you just do the work. You just put the work in, and then the work shows up, right? And you can always edit later, but you have to write, regardless of how you feel about it. And my best time to write is always in the morning, because I've got my superpower here, coffee.
When your brain
is rocket fuel,
the brain is the clearest in the morning, for sure.
Yeah, and so I'm always writing early in the mornings. Before my day starts. I get up at 5:30. I'm working by 6, and by 7 o'clock, I've knocked out a bunch of stuff, and that's how I power through lots of days. Right, is doing stuff like that. And being organized and purposeful is how you do it. And like the old adage, how do the pygmies eat the elephant? One bite at a time.
Yeah.
That's how you write a book, is one page at a time. It's just writing, right? So,
Marshall, I'd be interested to know if you've experienced what I experienced. So even before I started the actual writing of the book, when I went back and started looking, and most of us, I'm guessing, that would be watching this are doing most of their own social media. They're doing, you're writing whatever you're producing content wise is probably coming directly from each of us, as opposed to there's a department that's doing it, right? That is true. It is not available on Audible. Sorry. That's true. You have to actually read.
Get recording, Roger. What's your problem?
I'll do it. I'll do it for you, Roger.
Listen to me for 180 pages. I can assure you.
Alan here is he's done DJ voice stuff. You should get
a few voiceovers I've done. I'd be happy to do that.
There you go, sir. Now look. All right, recording's over. We're good. There's the value that came from this. Is I got a voiceover from my book.
Yeah,
fantastic. So that's, oh my God, that's like the best thing that's happened all day.
I don't know if I'm professional. I'd be happy to. I can read.
You know how to read, really?
I just learned. We'll blame Detroit Public Schools. Anything bad with it, we'll blame them.
Right.
No.
So you were saying, Roger, we interrupted here. So the best thing of writing a book is what?
I was writing my book on social media before I was actually writing my book.
Yeah.
My blog posts, most of what I was talking about were the things that were on my mind that ultimately ended up in the pages of the book, right? And so again, to the people who, if you feel like you have a book in you, you have a book in you. You do. It's just a matter of taking all of the things that you're talking about, be it in written form or, however you're communicating, most of what you're saying ultimately would be the premise of a book if you just sat down and decided that that's what you wanted to do.
It's kind of, here's another analogy for you. It's a lot like writing, okay? And the reason why people don't start isn't because they can't actually do it. It's because, you ready for this? They're scared of what other people will think.
Yep.
Okay. And so you have to get past that. You have to get to the point where you absolutely just don't give a flying crap what your opinion is. I'm doing it anyway, and just write it for you. When I'm an artist. When I do stuff, I do it for me. When I write, I do it for me. Yes, other people can enjoy it, but I'm doing it because I like doing it. It makes me happy and figuring things out. And it's a little puzzle. And it just, when everything fits together, you get such a glow of self-satisfaction. Yeah. Why do I blog every week? It's because I like doing it. It makes me happy to get my thoughts out of my head and out, right? Same thing with writing a book. And you have to get past, right, the thing that you're going to be laughed at, or what if people don't agree with you or whatever. And I can tell you right now, people are going to laugh at you and people aren't going to agree with you and whatever. And who gives a flying crap? Right? And just do it. Birth the baby. Don't worry about it. Right. So, and you get better every time you do it. You'll get better. Right. And I think Roger's next book will be better than this book. I guarantee you.
I agree with you guys. I haven't written a book. I'm sure it's in me. I haven't done that now. We'll have to think about that. But when I started writing articles for the trades and stuff, I was terrified, and the fear was on me until I started doing it. When they realized, you're always worried about what people are going to say. What if they don't agree with me? And there will be some people, but it's far few in between than what is in our mind. In our mind, there are hordes and hordes of people waiting to just blast me. And there's not. You may have someone, but someone who knows more than me who wrote more and said, you know what? Just say, that's a great opinion. You ought to write an article on that. Here's the name of my publisher. They don't have the guts to do it. And I'm writing. I love, Marshall, what you said. How do you write? Just start doing it. Mm-hmm. When I worked in the music industry, working with I feel a price increase coming for one of my clients. I'm not sure who that is. Can you guys guess?
So Roger, what you don't know is we've been giving Alan here crap for 2 years here about starting his own podcast. Is it still on your whiteboard right across from your desk right now?
I'm not going to answer. I'm going to put the on that. I'm not going to turn the camera around and show you.
I bet it's been up there so long you can't even erase it because the ink dried.
It dried.
It's went through the whiteboard. It's now embedded under the paint behind it. So, Brian Buffke, you're killing me.
We do have a question here. So Frank has got one. What does today's landscape look like for sales styles? Rapport-based, solutions-based, closing styles, etc. And what do you think on that, Roger?
All right. So in the back of the book, I created this thing called the trust continuum. All right. And think about, Frank, the most commonly used sales sentence is people buy from people they know, like, and trust. Right. Yep. So that is such a universally accepted statement that most people don't even think about what it means. So let's spend a moment. Know, like, trust, right? So most people, when I get into this discussion with them, if I were to ask you to draw what that journey looks like, know, like, trust, most people will do this. Know, like, trust. It's not how it works. It's know, like, trust. It's a pyramid. Yep. And in order for you to make that climb, there are activities that we need to invest in as sales professionals so that people will allow us the opportunity to make the journey up that continuum with them. Okay. So think about COVID during the pandemic. Did you guys get a sales call made on you, a cold call made during the pandemic?
No.
Okay. I did. I didn't like it. I was pissed off. What an intrusion that felt like. Like, you're making a cold call on me right now and you don't even know what's going on in my life. I could have someone on their deathbed and you're trying to tell me about insurance. Right. Like, sales as an activity is intrusive as it is. So if you don't create an opportunity to understand where you are with your trust relationship with the person you're trying to do business with, you're in trouble from the onset. So what we're trying to say in the trust continuum is, first, consider what kind of relationship do I have with this person from a trust perspective? There it is. He found it. So if I have a weak relationship with you right now, and we are in an environment where perhaps we might want to do business with one another, or worse yet, I want to do business with you, but you don't have any idea whether you want to do business with me, I have to organize my activities around creating trust, period. That's it. Nothing else. Because anything else that I do runs the risk of creating an environment where you're hostile towards me anyway. So let's begin with trust, people. Where are you in this environment? And assume with most relationships that you're in a weak trust environment. And so if you can arrange your activities to create more trust in weak trust relationships, and you focus all of your energy on doing that, your sales funnel will grow, regardless of whether there's a pandemic, whether there's racial tension, whether there's all of the stuff that's going on in the world today. Because when you need something and the chips are down, who do you call? You call the people you trust, right? And so what we realized to get promotions was we didn't have enough trust built with enough people during the pandemic because we were too new of an organization. We just hadn't been around long enough. Right. So we were able to create trust-based activities, which allowed our business to grow during the pandemic, because that's 100% where we focused, because maybe I had written a book about the fact that trust is important.
Yeah. And I remember PPAI, 3 years ago when you were doing the filming?
Yeah.
You were filming your supplier partners, and they were all telling their stories.
January of 2020.
And here's our next topic here about purpose. What is their purpose? Why are they in business? What are they doing? And they were all sharing those anecdotes and sharing those stories.
Yeah.
And that directly, feeds into that trust continuum that you were just speaking about.
For sure. So to me, right, so you go back to know, like, trust. And promotional marketing items are exchanged in person-to-person encounters. And there was this thing called COVID-19. So there wasn't a whole lot of that going on.
I've heard of that.
Yeah, it's vaguely remember it.
So for those of you who are not aware of the numbers, the promotional marketing industry in 2019 was a $24 billion with a B dollar marketplace. In 2020, it was a $19 billion marketplace. And the only reason that it only shrunk to $19 billion was because $6 billion of that was PPE. So in reality, we shrunk from a $24 billion to a $13 billion marketplace in less than 12 months' time. Ouch.
Yeah.
That hurt really bad, right? So, but in the process, what happened was we recognized that the supply chain was impacted, but more importantly, the people who were buying the stuff, when they came back to making purchases, their opinions had changed just a little bit, because the stakes now for their buying decisions are much higher.
Absolutely.
Right. So what used to be a afterthought of a purchase in promotional products, suddenly, if you were to do something with those dollars that could be perceived improperly, that could cost you your job. Or worse yet, if you made a bad buying decision and you were a small company, it might cost you your company.
Business. Yeah.
Right? Because the stakes are more important now. People are making a lot more educated decisions about what purchases they're making. And so consequently, they're looking a little more deeply at the people that they're making investments in when they're making these expenditures. And they're looking for something to justify why it's okay. Why is it okay that I spent that money with that person? Because I might get questioned now in a way that I didn't get questioned before. So if I can say, yeah, but, then chances are your ability to continue to be seen as someone they'll give money to increases. So by organizing yourself on purpose, around purpose, what you're really doing is you're creating an avenue for that buyer to actually be able to justify the expenditure, in my opinion.
I think it's a great opinion, because now, not only that, though, I love what you're saying, because during COVID, now those opportunities are more urgent. It might not be the right word, and they're looking. So if they know you and they like you, and now if they have a little bit of trust going, I might not buy from them now, but that trust factor is there. They're looking. I've seen that in our industry where we are, in our company, where we're growing. I'm having people call me that never have before, going, all right, this area, which might have been thought of as a commodity, is now pretty stinking important.
Yep.
And we got to start looking at everything.
And here's where, if your suppliers are doing something with sustainability,
Yep.
or like with case, and there's such a great, you were on my podcast also, Roger, and during that show you were talking about, all made shirts, and
Yep.
that's such a great story.
Absolutely.
You're supporting orphanages in Haiti. And so if you're a church or anybody that's got a mission to support causes like that, why would you use any other shirt blank?
Yep.
Because even though it's costing more money, you're directly supporting what your mission statement's all about anyway. And that feeds into that, right? And so I just think that, having some sort of purpose-linked sales really helps with that trust factor. It really helps you make the case. It connects all those dots, right? And so if you're listening right now, I would love it if you had an instance where you've used purpose-driven sales, or you're doing something with a give back or a charity or something. Can you share what you did and what the results were? That would be great. So, Roger, can you give us an anecdote of something that you've done maybe this year or recently that really kind of feeds into this idea?
Yep. My favorite story. So when we're doing discovery, we still need to ask all the same questions that my competition asks. How many pieces are you looking? What's your budget? All the questions, same question. But I don't even start those questions until I ask the first question, which is, what does this company, what do you care about? What's important to you? Like, do you have something that you rally around as an organization? And a lot of times the answer is no. But when the answer is yes, wouldn't it make sense for me to go find products that align with what it is that this business cares about, right? So
absolutely.
I like if I remember from the podcast, you said something about, if I gave you unlimited money and you were going to donate to or fund your favorite charity, what would you instantly help support? And I think you said people under 35 know instantly, and people above 35 have to think about it for a minute. Is that still true?
Very true. Very true. So in this instance, we were dealing with someone who was actually above the age of 35. And when I asked that question, she got really excited to talk about, like, we're a veterans organization. Our founder was a combat veteran, and his son was killed in combat. So that's who we are. I have a son that's active Air Force. So we immediately bonded. We had a thing, right? So they tell us what they want to do. We come back. We bring them product from the Patriot line from Hirsch Gift.
Yep.
20% of the proceeds from those products go to this nonprofit called Homes for Our Troops. For those of you who are not familiar with Homes for Our Troops, what happens is you're a combat wounded veteran. They will modify your home to make it ADA compliant. And if they can't, it will tear your home down and build you a new home. It's crazy.
Wow.
All right.
That's
so
awesome.
I bring them Patriot tumblers. I present those. She literally gets up out of the chair, leaves the room, comes back with the owner. Says, Bob, I just want to show you these tumblers. And she goes on to tell him the story about what it is, what they support. The guy starts crying. It's like, so wait, so when we give these out at the company picnic, we're going to be able to explain not just that we're giving you a tumbler, but why we chose this particular tumbler. Yes. Okay, so he dries his eyes. He goes to the door. He goes, "Hey, just make sure." Oh, we lost him. We lost Alan.
He's something with his computer. It looked like he was plugging it in. He'll be back.
Just take care of Tanya. But we're good. Like, so Tanya calls me 2 days later and says, "Roger, we want to get 144 of those tumblers, but I was doing some online research, and I think that you should give us a 25-cent discount on each tumbler based on my internet research." So I counted till 3, and I told her, "No, you're not getting a discount because you don't get the discount and the story. I'm sorry. That's not how this works. I can sell you another tumbler for 25 cents less per unit, but not Patriot. Because guess what? The difference between those two products is probably the donation."
Absolutely.
So, what do you want to do? So in sales, the next person who speaks, right? So
loses.
Pregnant pause.
Yep.
Pregnant pause. And she finally said to me, she goes, "Okay, well, what am I going to tell him if I don't do this?" Right? So I was able to defend my margin because of the narrative that I created and the value that I established for why that was not just a tumbler anymore. That's a part of the narrative of their company's brand.
Yep.
Right. And when you can connect that, here's what this is what this stops, Marshall. And it's the thing you and Alan and I all hate to see. We go to a conference, we walk to the doors, we look in the garbage can. What's in there?
The recycled
product that you collected, right? So if I give you something and you put it in your bag, I know the likelihood of that actually being useful is like this much.
Yep.
I hand you the product and I give you this story to go along with the product and I teach you how to tell it. How much of that ends up in the garbage?
None.
Less at least, right? Less at least. So let's do that. Let's at least do that. Let's marry the story to the product and teach the people how to use this stuff better. Keep it out of the landfill, period. I mean, it's as simple as that. There's a lot of other reasons why it helps, but at its core, it's like, people, stop making garbage, please.
Right.
Love it.
Yeah, cool. So we got a couple comments I want to get to real quick. So Ann says, we do fundraiser web stores, as in that every purchase, so much goes back to the person. Last one we did a huge check back to someone. That was our football family. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And then, so I really think this purpose kind of really helps tell the tale more. And I would love it if everybody would ask a question right now about maybe how they could do it, or what do you do, or that type of stuff. Remember, this is a Q&A show. It thrives on questions, so don't be scared to ask the question. And so how can more people be thinking about this, Roger? Do they have to like do it with everything? Can they just start off with one product or one idea? Because maybe they're not doing anything right now. What would you recommend if somebody wanted to get started? What's the Roger Burnett starter kit for operating with purpose?
If you literally sat down and wrote everything that your company did in a week, just literally wrote it all down, you're already doing stuff. You just don't think about it that way, right? So are you recycling? Most businesses are probably doing some kind of recycling, right? So that's a behavior that we would say is a purpose-driven model. It's identifying those places that you're already doing the stuff that is oftentimes the first most important thing for people to do. It's like, are you having potluck once a month for your employees?
Mm-hmm.
That's a purpose-driven activity. What stuff are you doing? And if you can identify multiple things in a specific category, that's a lane. So you already have a lane. Just develop your lane more. Okay. Setting that aside, you have nothing. All right. So, what do you care about? Do you care
Or
about
what your customers care about?
Well, but to me, like the thing about purpose, it's just like anything else. If I don't like doing bench presses,
Mhm.
what's the likelihood I'm going to stick with bench presses?
Yeah.
Right. If I like doing another exercise better, chances are I'm going to gravitate to the thing that I like doing the best. So whatever you enjoy the most, develop something in that area, because then you'll stick with it. If you're trying to like, oh, I'm going to stretch to like, I'm not an environmentalist, but suddenly we're into sustainability. Well, no, that's not going to work. And worse yet, you're going to get called out for it because you're being a phony.
Yeah.
So whatever it is, whatever you care about, whatever it is, like I have a lot of realtor customers. I'm like, you're the real estate agent for what? And like, for people who buy and sell homes. I'm like, no, that's not.
Try again.
You have to have a specialty, right? So it's the same thing. It's find the things that are important to you, develop strategies around making it a part of your activities, and then document it. That's the thing that so many people our age, specifically 50 plus, will say to me, I was raised that philanthropy is my own business and I'm not supposed to talk about it. And I get that. Like, that's legitimate. Our parents, that's what our parents taught us. Like,
Right.
you don't talk about who you vote for and you don't talk about who you give money to. I get it. But
Boy, there's so many people breaking that rule.
Times have changed. And now, I'm not saying you have to do this. What I'm saying is, if you have a competitor who is, you're going to lose to them. So why not at least give people the opportunity to see what it is you're about?
Yeah.
So that they can make that a decision-making criteria if it's important to them. And what we all know is more and more people care about this now than they ever have before.
Right.
So if you're not willing to show that, then you're going to struggle against a competitor or competitors who are.
Mhm.
So getting started to me is just like, what do you care about? What are you going to consistently do? And how are you going to show people that you're doing it so that they can find it, even if they don't run into you in person?
Right. Right.
Awesome.
So Sean says, good morning. Hey, Sean, how you doing, buddy?
From Georgia.
And
Yep.
see Roger wearing pink for Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And Roger, why don't you go ahead and share that story? We heard it before the show started, but I think everybody needs to hear what's going on.
So an example of how to live a purpose-driven strategy is to take something that you care about, that's important to you, and to do something with it in a way that the public could be able to see. So we were approached by the Detroit chapter of the American Cancer Society. We were nominated as a business to participate in the Real Men Wear Pink fundraising campaign this year for the American Cancer Society. And I am not a professional fundraiser, but I have a lot of friends who raise a lot of money for causes that they care about. And my saying, Marshall knows, is you hang around inspiring people long enough, you're bound to be inspired. It's like osmosis. And I've watched countless friends of mine give away those big cartoon checks that have 2 commas, million plus that they're giving away. I'm desperate to do the same thing. So we always knew that when we started Social Good Promotions, that part of what we wanted to do was to be able to help the nonprofit community be more successful in their causes. My partner, Kara, who operationally, I can't do anything without her. I literally, I bring the orders in, she makes them actually happen. She's a breast cancer survivor. She's 8 years ago, at the age of 30, she was early diagnosis, and she was able to, she had to do all of the awfulness that comes along with breast cancer, but she's a survivor, and she's here today to tell her story and to support my craziness in what I do every day. So when we were approached, I asked her if she was interested in us participating in this campaign, and she enthusiastically was behind the idea of us getting involved. So today is the launch of our fundraising campaign for Real Men Wear Pink. So I will be awash in pink for 31 days. We have a Facebook fundraiser. We have a page on the American Cancer Society. If any of you are interested, just hit me up on Facebook. I'll send you a link to the fundraiser. But $2,500 is our goal. We've raised $303 at this moment, but $2,500 is child's play. So we are actually shooting for 25 grand. That would be last year's top fundraiser was 24 grand. So 25 grand would be higher than last year's high. So we're shooting for the stars here. I'm going to wear promotional products from all of our suppliers for this entire month. We're going to highlight the power of promotional products. We're actually selling a Real Men Wear Pink t-shirt for $25, and all of the proceeds are going to the American Cancer Society. So if you're interested in buying a Real Men Wear Pink t-shirt, I'm happy to sell one to you because, you know, t-shirts are kind of a really good fundraising medium. It's weird how that works.
I've never heard that before. So I think that's great. And, you know, when I ran Visual, we were always doing stuff with nonprofits. And I did a lot of work with the Cancer Society. And so we actually were like the third biggest fundraiser in the city of Milwaukee for our last one we did. And here's a tip, Roger. What really got the donations going was we're almost at our goal. And what we did is every Saturday and Sunday we would post how close we were. And then it was like everybody threw in $50 or $100 so we could hit the goal. And then next week we did a little higher goal. And then it's like, we're almost at our goal. And then everybody kept doing that. And that really works where your donation could put us over the top, right?
Yep. Everybody always wants to have that. I was the one who.
I was the one,
I
right?
flag at the top of the hill, right?
Yeah. So, all right. Well, that's great. So let's shift gears a little bit. And today is the first day of Q4, right? And I know I was sharing with Alan earlier what I was doing yesterday. So I've got my Q4 planning and all the way into some Q1 stuff, right? And I know you're big into planning and that kind of stuff. So what do you do, Roger, when we're thinking about setting sales goals, about dashboard metrics, KPIs, that type of stuff? You're a sales guru, so walk us through what you do, and then maybe somebody can take away some stuff today.
Sales is math. Never stop being math. So if you're not studying your close percentage and you don't know what the total value of your pipeline is for Q4, then you really don't have any way of knowing what you're going to sell. And especially in an environment where product is so hard to come by, you don't have a really good handle on what your pipeline looks like. It's going to be a roller coaster. So, you know, sales activity is a 90-day lagging performance. So really, Q4 in a lot of ways, like if you don't know what it is that you're going into this shooting match with, you know, you might want to look ahead to Q1 right now. But I would say going into this stretch, if I could give you one bullet for the gun, it's get a handful of suppliers that have a certain product or products that are deep in inventory and just sell as much of that as you possibly can. And don't worry about the tail wagging the dog in this instance. Sell the stuff you know is available to sell and sell as much of it as you possibly can and figure out as many different ways to sell the exact same thing to as many different people as you possibly can. Because you got a better shot of selling the same thing over and over and over again than you ever do in trying to reinvent the supply chain with every single opportunity right now. Just it's a recipe for disaster no matter what you're selling. I mean, screen print inks are in a shortage, for the love of God, right? So just
don't get us started.
You can sell, right? I mean, that's the best I can give. And then from a Q1 perspective, I mean, you're really in a position now to be more prescriptive with the people you do business with. And it goes back to the trust index. Find the people that you have the best trust relationships with and work those people as much as you possibly can to bring them as much value as you possibly can.
Yeah.
Because there's not going to be a lot of opportunity down funnel because there's just not going to be a lot of product.
Yeah. So as a promo guru wizard, right? Are you looking at stuff that isn't sourced overseas, more domestic things, so you don't have to worry about what port something's stuck, not getting unloaded? Are you working on that?
Imagine literally like if you were a carpenter and you had a tool belt on, and you've got a tape measure and a pencil and a T-square, and you know what like that's it. Like anything, the farther away it is, the worse off it's going to be. So we're trying literally like Michigan and Ohio suppliers. Like that's how close we're trying to stay. Certain categories like food that we know is going to exist because they can make more of it. We're selling food like it's hot, like literally hotcakes, like because we know it's capable of being sourced and delivered and executed on in a way that we feel confident going out and making commitments to people about. Anything that you literally don't feel like you were selling it to your mom, don't do it, because the likelihood of it going bad is pretty high at this point.
Yeah. I know lots of people, their sales for Q4 is all holiday, and everybody's so crazy right now with that and what's going to happen. And, you know, are we going to have product? Are we going to have ink or whatever? And I know that people are switching, you know, or doing some new things. So normally it's screen printing. Now it's going to be embroidery, right? Normally it's this, you know, it's a hoodie, but there's no hoodies. So they're looking at other products, right? And I like that idea with finding things that's available closer to you.
Yeah.
And I remember we just had our big Shirt Lab event, and our keynote speaker was Jeffrey Gittimer, and he was talking about making your own shirts. Why are you worried about what everybody else has? Just invent your own product, right? And so based on wherever you are, right, it's just like with the food, what's available around you that you can, because I don't know where everybody lives, right? And so what could you be doing, right? And I think there's a lot of really good truth in that.
Well, and even like we're doing cut vinyl because you can get it. And sometimes you have to express to the client, it's like, do you want something? Because this is what you can get. And having the courage to get in front of it and to say to people like, no, you can't have that. You can have this. And if you're willing to do that, I mean, our sales line is growing this year like really well. And it largely has to do with the fact that we're practicing that example ourselves, being really prescriptive.
Yeah. So Alan, chime in here.
Well, everything is incredible what he's been saying, and I love it. I mean, I've been having a little bit of technical problems from my end. I don't know if you can tell, but I think we got those worked out. You know, I love what you were saying about the sales planning part of it. And actually, this morning, Marshall and I were talking. You know, we think that we're all, you know, we're professionals here. All three of us, we've done this for a lot of years and stuff. But you know what? We still got to make sure we are planning on there. And just this morning, Roger, I'm listening to, you mentioned Marshall Jeffrey Gittimer. He does a thing at 9:59, it's called. And at the end, I'm just listening to as I'm going through my day and stuff like that and getting ready for this. And he always says, you know, today, Friday, make a sale. But one, he goes, make appointments for Monday, 3 of them at least. Well, I wrote down immediately 3 things I needed to do, done right away. You know what? One is a dealer I had to call. He's been wanting to work with me, and I just haven't given the dates. Called him, did the dates on it. The other one I was going to call actually called me. It was Dave Edgars, who's on here. Hadn't talked to him well. Needed to do that. And the other, you know, so just immediately. And I think when it comes to planning, we think we do a good job, but life happens, we get busy and stuff, and it still comes down to the basics on it of plan your day, who you're going to call, and do it. If not, then you're kind of flitting around and going, man, where did they go? And what did I really accomplish? So we have to do that. We have to do that stuff.
Yeah.
Planning.
I have an acronym that I use, ROI. Have you heard of that, Roger? ROI?
Do you have some new take on ROI, or is it
It's return on intent.
Yep.
There you go.
So, what are you doing with intent? And we have these big goals. We've got these big dreams, right? But unless there's some action behind that, you know, big deal, right? Doesn't matter. You have to be doing the stuff, you know. So you got to get out and just do it, right? So
I also love too what you're saying about the real men wear pink thing, and you know we talked about the whole pink thing, and you have a boatload of pink shirts there. We need to put that website up, Marshall. I think.
What is it?
Go ahead, Roger. What is it? Tell us. And it because we all know somebody. You were talking about your assistant Kara, and I know somebody that's like around 30 that's dealt with breast cancer and coming through it. And I'm like, this hits. That's why the pink thing hits.
Hey, Roger, type it into the private chat, and I'll share it on the screen.
Got it.
So I think that's good, and I love also too, Roger, what you're saying. What is in your lane? What we're already doing, and immediately I think of things that I do just personally. You know, of course, everybody recycles. Yes, I do that. Probably not as much as I need to, but more. I'm always trying to do little things to do that. Actually, it's more bigger things now. But in my lane, things that I do personally that I never talk about. Yes, I'm on a board for a faith-based mission company in Africa. I just met with a friend of mine who is starting. He's just joined a new organization to the Middle East and stuff like that, and you know, some pretty rough countries and stuff. But I also am involved with our local pet rescue. I have friends, you know, all kinds of things. I started just making a list. What is in my lane? How can I turn that in? Like, I don't have a promo company, but what can I do to help that? So we all have that. I think sometimes we think, well, I don't have a lane. Yes, we do.
No, listen, and you're literally, think of it this way. Here's what I try to express to people all the time. If I do a good job with you in person, when we meet for the first time, you're going to go search me out.
Absolutely.
And if what you see out there didn't match up with what you got from me, that's a problem. That's a huge problem, because one of those is wrong then to that person, right? So was he being disingenuous? Because what I heard from him is not what I'm seeing.
Mm-hmm.
So that creates dissonance on the part of the person that you just interacted with. So you may have wowed them, knocked their socks off, and they'll go out and go, what happened? And that's the worst possible thing. So why not organize your behaviors in a way that gives people the chance for there to be consistency from what they're going to get from you to what they see of you when they go and look, because they're going to look every time, right? And so by doing it, like I wrote the book a year ago, but in reality, I've been writing about the things that ended up in the book for 5 years. And if you go back and you look at all of the things that I've done over the course of that period of time, it backs up, right? And so for me, the credibility and authority that come along with that cohesion set me apart from my competition. So if you've not given yourself that opportunity and somebody else that you compete against did, and you don't know why you're losing, that might be the reason. It's as simple as that.
I've always wondered, and I'd love to hear some questions on this and people respond. And Marshall, Roger, this be it. You know, I think through COVID, the way things were going on supply, one of the things, as we all know, that a lot of the marijuana craze is going legal here in Michigan. It's legal now too. But I have friends that have actually looked into what it is on farming hemp. And hemp makes a great shirt. It's super soft and stuff. And it does take, because I remember, and Marshall, I think we all remember the days where shirts were actually made in the Carolinas. And, one of the things I've said this too is I hope through all this, as marijuana is legal, that hemp farming becomes it, because it's a way better crop than cotton. Uses less water. It'll grow anywhere, and there's longer seasons on it. And I would love to see that being made as more of a U.S. made product in a shirt. Now, it has to be, mills have to get back up and things like that. But I mean, do you have any thoughts on that? I still think that there's a market. If people just went, there are hemp made shirts, there are bamboo made shirts. And sometimes I think that's what you're doing right now. These are sustainable products. I love the All Made. I love the story. When I first heard that story is incredible. One being someone that's traveled on short-term missions all over the country that connected with me right away. But I love the sustainability part too. And are you seeing more of that? And I'm wondering why people don't. Yes, I know they're more expensive garment. Yes, I know they're a little bit harder to get. Yes, I know. But I think a right marketing plan on that will set you way apart of your competition.
Well, Reprieve is about the softest damn fabric you're ever going to touch.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah. So to me, yeah, we can go to hemp, we can go to bamboo, but the world's got a lot of water bottles that we can turn into shirts.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they wash like nobody's business, and they hold a print like nobody's business, and the story is fantastic. It's just like, why would we bother, right? I mean, it's literally, Marshall heard me tell the story. He was recalling it when I showed my wife the All Made story. She said, well, why would we buy any other shirt?
Yep.
And to me, that's really where it's at. It's, again, and this kind of goes back to the essence of what we're saying. It's not that it's a t-shirt, it's why you're buying a t-shirt. And if you're going to buy a t-shirt, why don't we go ahead and make that purchase actually do something good? Right? Yep. Because you're already going to buy it. And Alan, truthfully, as someone who sells the product every single day, the price is negligible from a different, it's negligible. In many instances, when you say to people, so I like, let's just say it's a sale and I'm showing All Made. Most of the time, someone won't say to me, well, can you show me something less expensive?
Yeah.
And maybe it's because I've done the work up front to create that environment that doesn't create that objection at the end. Maybe that's the case. But when I get to that phase of the process with most of my customers, you know what they literally say to me? They say, just tell me what to buy, because they trust me. Right? And if we're in an environment right now where products are in short supply, wouldn't you rather be in an environment with a customer who's like, just tell me what to buy?
Yeah, absolutely.
And also there comes a point where if you're working, and if you've got your business plan, you know your ideal customer, you know their journey, you know what you're doing, you're wanting to work with a higher level client anyway. I can tell you that people who don't freak out over how many zeros are in the price, okay? The price doesn't matter. It's only the people that want to nickel and dime you that are commodity-based people anyway. Those are the people that always focus on the price. Yeah. The people who want the value, they want the end result, as long as it's not just ridiculous, the price is okay. It's whatever, right?
And just
price don't you think, Roger? Right?
Price shopping now is like, good luck. You want to price shop? Go ahead. Like, try to find some product. Price shopping. Good luck. Have fun.
Yeah. Now it's, people. Well, is there a discount? No.
Right.
Can you get it? Sure, I have it. There's no discount. Be glad I'm not marking it up 20%. You hate to be that way, but yeah. I also love too, because that plays right into what you said earlier, Roger, with the water bottle on it, with the veterans group. I'd like a discount. Well, sure, but you don't get the story.
Correct.
Yeah, that's great.
I'll not buy that thing. Yeah, absolutely.
So guys, we're a little over here, and I want to be okay with everybody's time, especially our listeners. So I think it's time to wrap up a little bit. We'll have to have Roger. We'll have to have you on back so we can do part 2 of this whole conversation.
Yeah.
So Roger, share with me the link to his page. it was 5,000 characters long. So I created a bit.ly link. So that's why it's Atkinson.fyi, because that's my bit.ly page. So it's just Atkinson.fyi, Roger's page, if you want to support him with his efforts. I probably will be doing that right after the show ends. So join me in supporting Roger. But anyway, so that's that. And Roger, where can they find you if they want to? Maybe somebody out there wants to work with you or do something with. Can you share your contact information real quick? Because I forgot to ask you about that earlier, so I could put it on the link.
Yeah, so I'm just Roger, Roger, at socialgoodpromotions.com is the easiest way to reach me. I'm very active on LinkedIn. So if you all live in that platform, I'm almost always there. So it's just a matter of popping in and saying hi. And I write a blog once a month for Promo Corner called The Burn. If you're interested in that, I have a podcast called the So You're in Sales podcast.
It is such a great podcast. I recommend, if you're a podcast person, you start subscribing to it today.
Yeah, 23,000 listens, 111 episodes. We've been doing it for a while. Sales is tough. It's not a fun thing to be doing these days. So we like to try to commiserate and try to help each other get better as salespeople on that platform. And we've had some really, really fun guests, including Marshall along the way. So
on there.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. So I'm inherently curious as a person, and I love new relationships. So I love craft bourbon and good beers and cigars too. So someday maybe we'll all get together and be able to do that sometime. Alan and I don't live too far apart from each other.
Before we leave, we'll set up a time. And I don't do bourbon and beer. I'm a vodka. I will do the occasional cigar, so I'm okay with that. But
all right,
yeah. But we're close enough, man. Hey, I'm always good for coffee too. I don't know if so.
Make it happen.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Today's International Coffee Day.
It is awesome.
So.
Wonderful.
All right. So, hey, Roger, don't go anywhere. We just got to wrap up the show here. So thanks, everybody watching. We appreciate you. Have a fantastic weekend. I'll be looking to see if my Florida State team can actually win a game this year tomorrow.
Well, Marshall, I think before we leave, Roger threw out the numbers on his podcasts and stuff like that. Guys, that's the goal. Come on, share this. We're almost there. We're not quite there, but almost. Not even close there, but let's go. So.
All right. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you guys next week.
Have a great weekend. Be safe.